So here I'm trying to save an article in reference to Stingray technology that law enforcement uses often unlawfully without a warrant and with vague or inaccurate or misleading description about the technology and its use to judges in order to, on occasion, seek and obtain a warrant for what's called a PIN register and or trace and trap warrant. And what that means basically is a warrant that allows this technology to obtain phone numbers called to a targeted device and also receive specific information about the operating system and the hardware. Information about the device being targeted, used by an individual. But it also allows for this technology to obtain information specific of emails, that being the information of email addresses in which a targeted person's email account has been used to send emails to others. And then the trace and trap is that would be basically tracing the phone calls that are incoming to a targeted phone, smart device that's on the 3G and 4G network. And then also obtaining more specific information about the phone calls, including and up into the extent of the actual conversation had, which according to United States Justice Department would be an unwarranted and illegal use of the technology. Not only in that would constitute as eavesdropping on protected electronic communications on the targeted device being used by an individual, but it would also obtain this information from all of the devices within an unspecified radius area that were also smart devices being used by other individuals. And it's been my personal experience that and experiencing complications with my device in public. Actually, my devices. I have a tablet, and I've had various smartphones. The smartphones were used both on public Wi-Fi networks as well as private, more secured 3G and 4G networks specifically from Metro PCS, and as of lately, a subsidiary of Verizon. And those symptoms being a denial of service in both the telecommunication signal for making and receiving phone calls, and composing and sending and receiving text messages, but also a denial of service of the internet service associated with the 3G and 4G signal. And the reason for that is apparently this technology, according to a certified document obtained by the American Civil Liberties Union out of California, United States, from the Justice Department. This document indicates that this technology acts as or simulates a legitimate cell phone tower. And it does so successfully by producing a signal much stronger than a local cell phone tower to a targeted phone used by a targeted individual, presumably. And then once it obtains the distinctive information, such as the IMEI number, I think that's what it's called. It's the basically the serial number of the smart devices, as well as other specifics like the network and network protocols, and the phone number, and the what is that called? The SIM card, the registration information. Once it obtains that, then there's basically an electromagnetic trace paired with that device. And so long as the device doesn't move within, so many thousands of feet out of range of the signal of the device, of the Stingray device being used, that trace can be maintained. However, whoever affects that are the consequence of a targeted device being basically hacked and traced by Stingray technology, as I said earlier, within a significant but undesignated radius area of that device. If there are other smart devices being used, they will also experience a denial of service of both the internet service, both 3G and 4G, and a calling ability associated with the 3G and 4G signal. And basically what this trace signal does is it downgrades the 3G and 4G signal to a 2G signal, because 2G service has a fault in it, in its protocol, which allows for or doesn't protect against receiving and sending signals to any other radio source other than a legitimate cell phone tower. And so that issue was corrected in the protocol, the security protocols of 3G and 4G technology. But this Stingray technology is capable of denying or blocking the 3G and 4G signal, thereby forcing a smart device, a number of smart devices, perhaps in a 1,000 feet radius, and forcing them to downgrade to 2G, and thereby exposing the service rendered by the compromised 2G service to a number of radio malfunctions specific to the devices in that area, as well as, or which would include telephone calls and internet service. Okay, so that's what I got from this article. I've tried to print it a number of times, and I do believe I have a hacker upstairs for me. I've made a number of videos that demonstrate the denial of service that I am experiencing in different ways, relevant to the different uses of my device and the internet service that I get on my device here. And so they're not allowing me to print this document and save it in my records. And so I'm going to attempt to do that now and show you what I'm talking about. See, I'm getting that error. And I don't know, you might be able to hear it, but there's a staticky sound in the background that you might be able to hear. And try to pay attention to it. If you do, it'll eventually stop. And it seems to be synchronized with the loading of certain pages that I try to render on the internet. But also synchronized with my use of hardware functions of my device, such as employing the use of the Bluetooth antenna and or the Wi-Fi antenna to scan the area for Wi-Fi signals. I'll note that on this new device, since I have 4G service and I've experienced hacking consistently on Wi-Fi networks, including our private Wi-Fi network in our home here in Ann Arbor, Michigan, from Comcast Xfinity. I have not elected to use and connect to a specific Wi-Fi signal on this device. And yet I'm still experiencing a number of denial of services that could be easily and rationally attributed to the use of a very strong and professional grade instrument or technology of electronic radio interference capability. I apologize that I'm speaking slow. I've been up all night and I'm trying to speak as clearly and accurately as possible about this very complex and disturbing circumstance. That is not only my hardship as an individual, but also communities, various communities' hardship, as well as the United States of America hardship as a whole. Because this technology is overwhelmingly used more so by local law enforcement than by federal agents, believe it or not. And this article gives reference to that fact. So now I'm going to attempt to upload this. And I have good reason to believe that it's either law enforcement upstairs or an agent of law enforcement, perhaps a civilian working for law enforcement with this type of equipment lent to them by local law enforcement. If you look at my Facebooks and you look at my YouTube accounts, postings, you'll see all the videos that I posted, not only of my personal experience, but also of my research to try to explain my very bizarre, harmful, circumstances of homeland terrorism, all of which, or overwhelmingly, most of which is associated with my use of the internet to upload my experiences and substantiating facts or research to help explain my experiences, but as well as hacking my device and my files and stealing my files and as in this case, denying my service, my paid service use of the internet. So, brr. So they're not letting me see the simple view, which I've seen a handful of times just before making this video, and attempted to upload the simpler version or view for print, because in electing to print the standard page layout, apparently all of the text does not render. See here, there. And so, it's certainly the case that they can see what I'm doing. There's some type of hack on my device where they can see everything that is on my screen 24 hours a day. And they can hear my speech. I've spent the last 5 days trying to secure my device to the best of my ability to mitigate this unlawful intrusion on my privacy rights and civil liberties. I'm making slow progress, but for example, I'm still not capable of mitigating something like this just yet. But I'm not done either in my studies and trials and errors. I mean, that's just so weird, I think. And here I'll prove to you that I have active service. That's my signal strength. It's in service. I don't roam because that would help aid my device succumbing to an imposter cell phone tower signal, which would actually be produced by some type of stingray technology, which I believe is upstairs. It's, like I said, there's a significantly loud enough static sound that seems to be synchronized with my use of the internet. And sometimes the hardware components, such as the antenna on my device. So I turned off just now the kitchen fan. And so you might be able to hear that roar in the background. Try to pay attention to that, and you'll notice it cut off. In fact, I'll give you a visual. So earlier with a different browser. Oh, speaking of which, this picture here of me, I rediscovered it today. This was an incident that I experienced. Well, let's see. That would have been, I believe, back in October 2017 at the Starbucks Cafe downtown Ann Arbor, Michigan. And, here you see orange dots covering my face. And then there's actually a significant orange dot right above my, see, it just went away, that heavy static sound. It's as if it was synchronized with my speech, It's like, oh, I've said too much now, so maybe I'll let up on him and let him upload his document so that he may reconsider uploading this video of telling circumstances. But anyway, there's a dot on my eyebrow there above my, would be my right eye. That's not hair. That's a really big orange dot reflecting some type of energy. I imagine radio and or microwave energy, because these stingray devices, they produce microwave energy. which is very similar to the radio energy that's produced by Wi-Fi radios and routers, but it's a little stronger, apparently, and it would be more harmful in an instance of excessive exposure to human beings, such as myself on this occasion here. Um, and so, if you look up at the ceiling, you'll see all these orange dots as well. Um, so it's my belief I was using the public Wi-Fi um, on this occasion, and it's my belief that a stingray device was used against me, but not so much specifically for my device information, because I had experienced these circumstances many times before this occasion. But if I'm right, I experienced burns that day on my arm in particular, and on my head and my facial area. And I made videos of it and I uploaded it to Facebook. So just so happens that I've been hacked out of the Facebook that I uploaded those videos to, as well as the account that I uploaded those videos to just recently. It would have been my fourth Google account, plus two additional ones. So it would have been a total of my sixth Google account that I've been hacked out of. And then that Facebook account would have been my third, I believe. And so, on this occasion, I experienced burns. And, if you can find those videos or see them, then you'll understand. But as to not go into the specifics, this is not an error of the camera. And then what I've done, I'll show you. Okay, so if this is still recording, I've cropped this half of the picture to use it for my lock screen. And you can see, all that orange dot energy on this specific side of the light, which is the side of the light that I'm sitting on, but beneath it. And so, I don't understand exactly how the science works, but I mean, you're looking at what I'm looking at, so. But obviously that's not normal or natural. And I feel confident that the vast majority of you have never seen anything like this in video, picture form, or in real life. So, all right, that's 30 minutes. So I did attempt to upload that article to my Google Drive. Let's see if it made it. Now, there's no reason why that should be waiting for Wi-Fi. Because I have more than once checked and made sure that I enabled the app to upload via the cell signal as well. So as you see here, transfer files only over Wi-Fi. Um, I have not elected that, so kind of strange. This person here, Timothy Lynch, apparently he is the leading general counsel for the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, and perhaps all of the University of Michigan systems. And so he works. He would work directly with the Board of Regents for the university, as well as the president, who's also on that board. And so I've had two incidences in which I've experienced assault and battery from the University of Michigan law enforcement officers. But I've had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 incidences in which the same law enforcement officer showed up at a random location that I was at on the vast campus of the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. And on those 4 instances, he seemed to set me up, basically, to be trespassed from the university when I had done nothing wrong or violated no University of Michigan policy that would warrant his temporary detention and or trespass. And so, it just so happens that University of Michigan has filed complaints against me, 2 charges of misdemeanor trespassing. And my attorney still hasn't received all the discovery from the University of Michigan Law Enforcement Department, specific the complaint that I made against one of the officers for assaulting and battering me. And I've experienced a lot of community harassment from residents and mostly students of the University of Michigan. I've received harassment at my job, specifically from the Ann Arbor, Michigan Police Department officers, 3 in particular, at my job, for that matter. The day that I went to court and turned down a plea deal because I'm confident in my innocence. Actually, it was the night that I had went to court earlier that day. That would have been March 5th, 2018. And so, there's a lot of pressure, community pressure on me to accept a plea deal because taking this case to trial obviously would bring to light the gross misconduct of the law enforcement officers, as well as the circumstances of entrapment meant to justify an illegitimate trespass for illegitimate reasons. So that's what I'm dealing with, and so that's why I have this attorney's information here, profile. It has the address where he works on campus, and so I believe he's the one that I would serve um, a civil complaint to for my civil rights violations. Um, um, that I endured from the University of Michigan police officers, as well as a civil rights complaint of an unlawful trespass as a form of discrimination. Not quite sure yet which class to go with. I'm still conducting my research about that. Um, uh, it may be socioeconomic because I've been homeless for a significant amount of time here in Ann Arbor, and most of the time that I've spent on campus has been when I was homeless, so that I could use the internet service and the other resources and amenities such as the libraries, including the law library and the undergraduate library, because I read a lot and I study a lot. So, but there is this general creed and or discriminating culture on the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor's campus, shared and participated by not only just the students but also the staff. I can't say for sure this is the case with the faculty, but it's an attitude that this person is an outsider. They're not a student. Why are they here? They're suspicious, first and foremost, for being here and using the amenities and the resources of the university when they're not a student and haven't paid tuition. And so University of Michigan law enforcement are very attentive to students' complaints. And, the University of Michigan Ann Arbor is a very well-ran business. And they go to extremes, I believe, to not only protect the students and the overall University of Michigan community safety, but also their experience and their preferences and their comfort on campus. And that extends to basically discriminating against individual citizens who are not affiliated directly with the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, but have legitimate and granted privilege to use the public amenities and or the what would you call them? The venues, that are open to the public, such as the undergraduate library and the law library. Although to use the actual law library down in the basement of the law school takes a lot of diplomacy and withstanding of a lot of scrutiny, of suspicion, not only by the students that volunteer to take IDs at the front entrance of the law library downstairs in the basement, but also and especially the law library clerks, those that are students volunteering and those that are paid professionals. They are not most inviting to the public for using that facility, even though it is well within the policy of the University of Michigan to make it available to individuals of the public for use of legal research. Um, and again, there's a suspicion. Why are you here? You know, um, I don't know. They give you the third degree. What are you looking up? How long are you gonna be here? They give you a day pass every time you go there. Um, so hey, I'm trying to present this in a non-judgmental um, uh, testimony, so that you can make your own judgments and perhaps confirm um, aspects of this type of harassment and civil rights violations that I've experienced from the University of Michigan in general. You can conduct your own research and see if you withstand the same treatment. Because I don't think that um, I have a feeling that they do this, in general, to people who are not students. I understand that the students pay lots of money for tuition. They feel protective um, of the amenities that they enjoy, without realizing um, the larger significance of an institution of higher learning, which includes the participation and input from the public outside of the student and faculty and staff directly associated with the university. Um, and it just so happens, for example, that this law enforcement officer, I think I might have said this earlier in the video, but I just want to make sure that I make the point clear. He showed up at 4 different remote locations on the large, I think it's 3,000 acre campus of the University of Michigan Ann Arbor, at the exact same time that I was at these locations. And all of those 4 instances, he was prepared and he executed a circumstance of entrapment. Basically, he demanded that I show him identification and speak with him. And I exerted my 14th Amendment protections and told him that I did not consent to communication with him in all 4 instances. And so he asked me to leave in 3 of those instances, in which I did. One of them, he actually arrested me because he was under the impression that he had permanently trespassed me. Apparently, the first instance in which he engaged me at the law library, that happened at the undergraduate library, but I was released, and then it took them months to actually file and obtain a warrant for my arrest for these 2 complaints of trespass on UVM's property. And so it's my belief that those instances were not coincidence, that law enforcement officer most probably used some type of stingray technology to locate me on campus, and or he conducted some type of sting operation in which I was followed and put under surveillance by members of the University of Michigan community, that being mostly the larger student body. And perhaps he got a tip of where I was on those random occasions at those random locations on the campus. So I'm just gathering information, and the more information I gather, the more sense all these weird circumstances and phenomena make. So, so let's see what we can do about this. All right. So, oh, they actually just uploaded the links. Great. Huh. Huh. Great. Huh. Huh. Weird. Okay. So, I think I'll end this video here.